Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Stanificent Newsroom, where we bring you the latest news and updates from Nigeria and around the world, from breaking stories to in-depth analysis. Stay tuned as we delve into the headlines and stories shaping our world today.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome back to another episode of Stanificent Newsroom Podcast. My name is Emmanuel Adeyemi, and with me is
Michael Adaba.
Alright, we are about to go into the headlines of today. I'd like you to stay tuned and listen. Defend Nigeria, support leaders, Tinubu, Buhari urge citizens. NAFDAC orders recall of toxic cough syrup and alert Nigerians. 2024 UTME notification slip ready for printing. Junior Pope, actor guild suspends movie involving boat rides. Police bust fake alcohol production facility and arrest couple. Airlines are trying to edge out airpeace for foreign route. Lagos to Calabar coastal highways. Nigerian government counters article, reviews project cost. Kwara received 12,058 bags of grains from federal government. Sanwo-Olu mourns Osolo of Isolo Kingdom, Oba Agbabiaka. CSOs hail EFCC for recovering 30 billion naira from NSIP. Now to the international news. Hong Kong fire leaves 5 dead and 28 injured. Biden says Nachuk's approach to the war is a mistake, deepening a rift between the two allies. A fire in a 16-story Hong Kong residential building kills at least 5 people and injures dozens. Wooden turbine tower could make wind power even greener. Europe court takes Russian billionaires off sanctions list. Heed prayers in Gaza and Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now to the news in full. We didn't abandon passengers at Gatwick. Airpeace debunks social media post. On the 8th of April 2024, a Nigerian airline named Airpeace has claimed that it deserted travelers at Gatwick Air Terminal, London, and shut down the counter prior to shutting time due to the fact that its airplane was overbooked. Airpeace, in responding to a video found on social media where the claim was made, the airline said it was false, portraying it as an endeavor to discredit its reputation intentionally. The airline made sense of that the air terminal works by slot timings allotted to everyone of the aircraft working out at the air terminal, adding that the registration tags of airlines were slot based and airlines alternate in view of their approved times. Now, this is an information that we got starting from past, I think last week, when there was an amazing news of the Nigerian airline Airpeace, an international airline actually, but owned by a Nigerian. Airpeace made their first flight from Lagos to London, and it was supposed to be an amazing event for the entire nation, but for one reason or the other, it was the other way around. There were lots of criticism, a lot of revelations were made that, was the price always this, and we were being charged at a higher rate. So what do you think about that? At least before we even enter this one, starting from the good news, what do you think that good news revealed to Nigerians about the airline space? Please, you have the floor, sir.
Well, I think it was a good one for Airpeace, who has again done very well. Since their inception, they have been amazing. Since Nigeria as a country have no what we call national carrier, after the death of Nigerian Airways, Airpeace came on board to substitute that national carrier and have been offering professional services to Nigerians. Mm-hmm. So I think them extending their route to international is a very good one, a good plus for Nigeria. Yeah. And some passengers because of the excellent services they have been rendering with domestically, was agitating. Why can't you start international route, not just Dubai, but extend it to London? And now they have done it. I think is a good one for Nigeria. Is a big plus, and the aviation industry, we know how they love themselves to an extent, and not all of them, especially the airline operators, not all of them will be happy for this development.
Well, I mean, why? That is what my question is. Why was there an uproar? It was supposed to be something that is going to benefit everybody, but are there like a set of people that are not enjoying this advancement?
The truth remains that when you are in the same business with some set of persons, and you feel that one person is trying to outsmart us,
do better than the other,
or do better than the others, you can pretend to be happy, whereas if you see anything that will pull the person down, that has been the case in aviation industry, and is an industry I was part of.
Wow. So you have experience
for
there
a very long time, so I can tell you categorically that there have been issues among the airline operators. There have been issues, even though they do have their seminars and they do have their meetings, but there have been issues among them. So many of them will not be happy with this development. That Airpeace is the first indigenous airline to have a direct flight to London.
Wow.
Many, because they know before you will be granted such license, you must have a very sound operating aircraft that is up to this international standard.
Yeah.
And your practices must be of international standard as well.
So it's not just about the aircraft now, it's also about the operations of the aircraft, down to the cabin members.
Yes, the services must be international standards. Your staff must be fully aware of the IATA and ICAO standard. So I think Airpeace have done very well, and is kudos to them.
Wow. Well, with that being said, I think we're going to move further now. I think last week there was news that they made the first flight, and it was a success. We give God all the glory for that, and it was an amazing addition to Nigeria as a nation. However, there was now to the discussion of today, there was news that some passengers, as it were complaining that some of them were left at Gatwick terminal, meaning some of them did not. They paid to they got their tickets, but they were not able to get into the flight, and their accusation was that it was overbooked. And looking at statistics and response from Airpeace themselves, they actually debunked that statement and said that it wasn't true. However, they even said that they had extra seats. I mean, some seats were not taken in the plane. So where do you think the bone of contention is here? I'm not asking who is right. I'm saying, based on your experience, what do you think actually happened?
Well, I went through the news, and it even happened that on almost the same day or a day to this news, there was similar issues at the Owerri Cargo Airport. Almost the same issue. The thing there is that the agreement Airpeace had with the owners of Gatwick Airport, because it's a private airport. The agreement they had is that the check-in counter is not owned by Airpeace. The check-in counter is not owned by Airpeace. When it is your time to check in, you have to start checking. And when your time elapses, you have to vacate the check-in counter for another airline to start theirs. So what I think happened, according to Airpeace, that they have finished the process of check-in, and once the counter is closed for check-in, whether you have a ticket or don't have a ticket, you will not be allowed to board that same flight. For example, in our domestic flight, The counter is usually open 2 hours period to the departure of the time, and closes according to some airline 40 minutes and some 30 minutes period to the departure time of that same flight. So if you are coming to catch a flight around 10 minutes to the departure of that flight, certainly you will not be allowed to board that same flight, because you must undergo some processes from security check and others, and the airline has to do some paperwork too before the landing of that same aircraft. So if you are not at the check-in counter, to check to undergo these processes and get your boarding pass, that's not how you are going to board that flight. So I think what happened at Gatwick Airport is that the passenger came after the check-in counter has been closed. The passenger came after the check-in counter has been closed, and there's no how the passenger is going to make that flight.
Definitely,
because there is processes to it.
Well, based on what all of the information we got, the response was that the airline stated that once your slot timing is up, you must vacate the counter, just like you said, for the next airline utilization. He said that the check-in process ends by 9 a.m. That's about 9 o'clock in the morning. That was 8th of April. And advised in the terms and conditions section of our e-ticket and website, and the counter was vacated by the airpiece in accordance with our slot allocation of 9:55. Are you aware that the airline actually claims that they send reminders to passengers before departure, 24 hours before, 14 hours before, and 6 hours before departure? So what point do you now think that the passengers still have after the airline has said all of this?
As I said earlier, I have left the industry, but I must categorically state here that when you talk about airline that gives you day-to-day information on your journey, on your flight, it is airpiece. You can't take it away from them. They will remind you of your flight. They will remind you of the check-in time, and after you have flew with them, they will still send you message thanking you for flying with them. They started it in Nigeria. I stand to be corrected. When you talk about information dissemination, you can't take it away from airpiece. So the passenger is duly, and this said passenger, according to the news, according to what airpiece said, they said the passenger, after everything, rescheduled and paid the no-show.
Yes, sir.
To tell you that the passenger is fully aware what transpired. So where the news is coming from is what I don't get.
Yeah.
But the truth is that for other passengers or intending passengers, on every flight you book, whether it is airpiece or whether it is Qatar or Emirates, there is counter opening time for you to be checked in and issued a boarding pass, and there is counter closing time. Assuming your flight time is 12 and the counter is opened by 9, certainly that counter will be shut before 12, like 50 minutes or 1 hour, because the airline need to gather all the information. Know how many passengers checked in on that particular service, know how many load, the total sum total of the kgs, the bags, the cargoes, so that they will be able to prepare what we call load sheet and balance the aircraft before the captain will take off. So if they don't close their counter on time, they will not be able to do other flight preparations. They will not be able to do those pre-flight preparations, and without those papers, the flight cannot take off. And human being will still complain.
Definitely.
That you delayed us above our time. So that is why they keep to their counter opening time and they keep to their counter shutting time. So if you are
everything must be done within
that time. So if you are not at the airport to check in at that particular time, you have missed the flight. Even though that the flight is still on ground, you will not be allowed to board the flight because they have shut their check-in portal.
But what if this is like a general personal question, what if in instances where everybody, the check-in time was 9 o'clock, for instance, and everybody got it before 9, but due to the fact that maybe it was very long queue, by 10 o'clock people were already around, but 10 o'clock closing counter time. Those ones that were there, would they say be allowed into the plane, or because it was counter closing time, everybody had to go, even if you were there before the time?
So what we do in that case is that for that particular time that the counter is supposed to be closed, the aviation security that is coordinating the queue will take notice of the last on that queue.
Okay.
For the fact that you were there before the particular time that is supposed to be closed, you must be taken on that service.
Okay.
Because you are there. But any new person from that time that the counter is supposed to be closed will not be allowed to join the queue. Yes, you might be seeing people being checked in, but they were there before the counter closing time. So that is how they must take everybody that was there before the counter closing time, even though he has exceeded. There is room for, but it must be duly be permitted from the manager. The manager must give that permission to still keep that counter open. That is why, because the counter is not theirs and they need to leave that counter for another airline, so they need to manage their time very well. And for crying out loud, this is an international flight. Everything must be done according to standard. You must close at when due. That is just the thing.
That's great. Thank you so much, sir, for that insight. As you have heard it, our viewers and listeners, this is concise information brought to you by experience. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael Adeba. And this is, also debunking the idea that Air Peace was not able to cater for the needs of their passengers. And this is also sounding a note of support that we're giving as a company to Air Peace for such amazing for such amazing strides that they've done. This is a major breakthrough for Nigeria as a country. It's also a major breakthrough for us as Nigerians, and we look forward to more. Join us for the next international phone news. 4 are still missing as hope fades away. A deadly explosion at an Italian hydroelectric plant. It was reported on Wednesday, 10th of April 2024, that a search and save task had continued at a hydroelectric plant near the northern Italian city of Bologna, a day after an overwhelming impact killed no less than 3 specialists, harmed 5, and left 4 missing. Rescuers complained progressively harsh circumstances at the site of Tuesday, 9th of April 2044 huge blast, which took the Enel Green Power Plant at over 40 meters, that's about 130 feet beneath the water level, causing flooding and the breakdown of a piece of the 9-story underground construction. A representative for Italian fireman Luca Cari said, "We are working in staggering, troublesome circumstances which are subsequent to declaring the pursuit would continue after 8 p.m. Tuesday, 9th April 2024. Furthermore, he went on to say that any desires for finding missing individuals alive are impartially slender." What do you have to say about that before we proceed? It's such a tragic situation. I mean, to have 3 specialists dead, 5 have been harmed, and 4 went missing by an explosion that happened near northern Italian city Bologna. Before we go into details so far, what do you think about such situation, and how do you think the families of the deceased had been able to handle this news?
It is an unfortunate event. Is an unexpected event, a tragic one. According to the owners of the dam station, they said that no sign of damage was noticed. No sign was noticed that the turbine is having any issues. That the explosion just came out of nowhere. And to say that it is above 100 feet below the sea level, you can imagine at every stage of that floor, 9-story floor, have people, specialists working in them, and for some of them to have lost their life um, is not just for Italy as a nation. Is this thing is how will I put it? Is a sad event for the entire world, and it's only God that can console the families of those that have lost their life, and we pray that the bodies of the others can be recovered.
Wow. Emilia Rumugna, the region's vice president, in person of Irene Prialo, said that the plant administrator of Enel Green Power was helping out the rescuers to assist with bringing down the degrees of water. She added that specialists took an example, that is, they took some specimens on Wednesday, 10th of April 2024 evening to break down the quality of the water in the lake and around the site of the blast. I think they're trying to figure out what exactly caused the turbine to malfunction, and to check for possible presence of oil or hydrocarbons that could hurt individuals nearby. I mean, before we go further, can you observe the proactiveness of the administration of the plants themselves? Can you notice what is happening? So they were not just focusing on the people in the plant. They started focusing on people that were outside. Like how does it affect those that are outside the plant? And I really think it's something that we should be able to learn from, on how when you're just looking at the plant, they start thinking, okay, those that are around the location of the plant, what are the things that can harm them, and they start fixing. So what do you think about this proactive situation that they were able to pull off?
I think it can only happen in a well-organized country. It can only happen in well-organized country. They are not just thinking about those that are trapped. They are not thinking about their own equipment or counting their losses. They are thinking about those that are still around the area. That how possible can we prevent them from being harmed by this occurrence? It's good to have a plan when an event happen, a good plan that can help out both in the investigation on protection of lives. So it's a good move by both the owners of the dam and the gas plant and everyone involved, including the mayor. It's a good move by them.
That's great. That's very good. We were able to see proactive attitude from the administrators. However, into further details of what really happened, we found that the level struck by the blast was overflown by about a meter of water during searches on Wednesday, 10th of April 2024 evening, constraining divers to look into the midst of debris in practical complete darkness, the fireman said. So I mean that they made attempts to get divers to dive into the water to at least get to see anybody who could rescue, but according to what the situation was, it was dark, and I know the idea of water, the deeper you go in the water, the darker it becomes. So from information from the firemen, they were not able to carry out such task. And finally, in respect to the main reconstructions of the mishap by witnesses and survivors, it occurred during a testing activity that involved about 15 specialists, practically all the workers of 3 terminal companies employed by Enel Green Power. So for us to balance either from the masses, information from what the witnesses are saying and information from what the company itself is saying, which one? Because we're here now that it happened during the testing activity. So could that be when something happened that could blow up? Of course, our informations are just speculatory, but what do you think about such situations?
Well, I think until a proper investigation is fully completed before we will be able to know the actual cause of the explosion. Because for now they are trying to reduce the water level because the whole area is flooded. So they are trying to reduce the water level. It is only when they are able or they have succeeded in reducing the water level, then they will be able to go deeper and be able to make conclude their findings. But for now, we cannot say that it is actually at this point that things went wrong, or at this point until they conclude their investigation.
All right, that's it. You have it. Finally, investigation concerning the situation was launched on Wednesday, 10th of April. Yet, the ongoing circumstances at the site would demand an investigation for the test to decide the genuine reason of the impact. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Michael Adaba. We appreciate your presence, your insight, and thank you so much to our listeners for listening once again. Thank you for joining Stanificent Newsroom Podcast. We hope to see you next week for some amazing time. Thank you. Have a good week.
That's all for today's broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Stay informed, stay safe, and we'll see you back here next time for more news coverage. Stanificent Newsroom, bringing all things new.